Ice fishing season is not here yet, but it's coming, and it's coming really fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I convert my summertime sonar unit into an ice fishing sonar unit right now. Fisher friends, it's me, Mark, eating lunch. If this is the first one of my videos you've seen, welcome. If not, welcome back. If you're a newcomer, you enjoy fishing videos, a little bit of idiotic behavior thrown in, then mine's a channel for you. I'd like to warmly invite you to subscribe to my channel and click that little notification bell so that you don't miss anything. So with all that out of the way, let's get started on this little project. First of all, let me take my well-worn cover off of my delicious Humminbird Helix 7, which I love very, very much. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take it and the mount off of the boat. I'm going to leave the boat transducer in place, and I'm going to take the power cable with me. The reason I'm going to leave the boat transducer in place is that I have a special ice transducer for this unit. You can use a regular boat mounted transducer, but in my case I do have the special ice design, which I will show you here shortly after we get the unit out of the boat. So the first thing I need to do is take the main sonar unit off of the mounting bracket. It's kind of dirty. It's going to be a good opportunity to clean this all up too. There we go. Now I'm going to unplug the power and the transducer cables from the main unit. Right? So now I've got this separated. Don't want that to fall in the water. Next, I'm going to unscrew the mounting bracket from its summertime home here on my fishing boat, which I affectionately call the fat lip because it's red and it's all busted up. So now I've got all 4 screws, got the mounting bracket released, and now I'm ready to take the power cable out. Again, I'm going to be leaving the transducer cable in place. Now one thing you can see here is that I've got these little cable clamps that run back towards the super clean power distribution center, and these clamps are what are holding the wires in place. Luckily these are detachable, so I can just open them up and I can remove the power cable and take that with me. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now next year, when it comes time to put this back, I just have to lay them back in place and clip them back down. I don't think you need to watch me do every single one of these. Through the magic of film and television and YouTube and cameras, poof, they're all undone now. It's time to disconnect power. Okay, now I know it's kind of a tangled mess back here and a little bit hard to see, but here is my power cable going to a fuse block. And as you can see, I've got the red wire and the black wire, and the red goes up to the fuse block right here. Now I just have to stick some pliers in there and get a hold of this spade connector and wiggle it free. It's pretty tight, which is good. Got it. Okay. So there's that side. Looks like the ground I've got a ring on, which I'm actually going to go ahead and cut this off, and I'll put my spade terminal, and I'll just put the opposite gender spade terminal on the other one, so I can just plug them back together and never have to worry about it again. So for now I'm just going to snip the ground wire pretty close to the lug that ties them all together, but leaving enough left over so that I can put on another fitting next year. So now I've got my power cable, I've got my sonar, I've got everything. We'll show you how I mount all this stuff into a portable case and make it into an ice fishing machine. Okay, fisher friends, I'm now inside. You can see I've got everything I took out of the boat, which would be the main unit itself, the mounting bracket, the screws, the thumb knobs, and of course the power cable. Now remember, we left the boat transducer attached to the boat and didn't mess with that wiring at all because we're going to be using the special ice transducer that goes along with this unit. And there he is now. This is the Humminbird ice transducer. It's designed to float vertically in a hole. I'll often fish out of the same hole, or sometimes I'll drill a separate hole and hang this in it and then fish in a separate hole off to the side. But it's got plenty of cord on it, as you can see. So once I've got this mounted in my portable fashion, I can sort of move things around however I like, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Alright, famous foolish fisher friends, we've got everything we need now except for some way to mount this thing and some way to power this thing. Now here's what I ended up using. I did this last year, so I'm really just putting this back together from what I did last ice season. Just a cheap little toolbox. It used to have a little black tray here, but I got rid of that because I don't need it. But my idea was that I could mount the mounting bracket on top of the toolbox, and inside the toolbox keep the battery, a 12-volt battery, 12-volt DC battery, and the transducer when I'm not using it, which I can very easily do. What I'm using for power currently is this little 5 amp hour 12-volt DC battery. These are widely available on the internet. This one is a number of years old, and it's I believe it's not holding a charge as long as it used to. This particular Sonar can actually be fairly power hungry depending on what the brightness level of the screen is. If you have a super fast refresh rate or ping speed, which I like to use when I'm ice fishing, so that I can get the most resolution and detail out of the jig moving up and down. So what I recently did, and they probably will arrive today or tomorrow, is I ordered a set off from Amazon, a set of 2 7 amp hour batteries, just like this, slightly larger, but with an extra 2 amp hour capacity for each one of them. With those, I should be able to go, have those charged up, and I should be able to go all day long without worrying about running out of power at all. Okay, so as far as mounting, what I ended up doing was just putting the battery, in this toolbox. And then I realized that it was going to slide around and become kind of a problem or whatever, so I ended up just drilling a couple of holes, one on each side of the battery, and then just running some zip ties through it so that I can just slide the battery down in there, in and out fairly easily if I need to take it out to charge it or whatever, and then that way, I can drive down the road or drag it across the ice or whatever, and the battery's not going to go anywhere, so I don't have to worry about that. You'll also notice that I've made a couple of notches and holes in some other places, and really these are just so that I can easily run wires in and out. For instance, the power wire and the transducer wire when I'm actually using this thing. Okay, so now let's go ahead and mount the unit itself, the mounting bracket, onto the top of the toolbox. Now, I was not scientific in any way about doing this last year. I just sort of picked what I thought was the middle and drilled a couple pilot holes, and I used the same exact screws that I used to hold it in the boat. So I'm going to go ahead and get these started, and then I use a screwdriver to screw them in. You don't want to over tighten these because you could really easily strip out the plastic, and then you have to start using bigger screws, and it's a vicious cycle. So you just need to snug it down. It doesn't have to be super tight or anything. Again, you don't want to strip out those holes. Did it. Okay, now it's time to deal with the power wire. Now, if you remember, while I was in the boat, I did clip the ground connector off because it had a ring style connector on it, which was bolted onto a ground lug, and I need a female spade connector to go on this battery lead. So what I'm going to do is add another one of these spade connectors on the on my ground wire, but first I need to strip it. And those connectors you can get at any auto parts store or even a Walmart or something like that if you got one of those near you. They're available pretty much anywhere. And so I'll strip it, crimp it on. So now I've got ground and hot or positive, and then I will get I've got some of the other gender of this connector, which is what I'll put on the boat next year. As you can see, I've got a little hole drilled here. And before I hook up this power, I'm going to go ahead and run the cable in from the outside. You may not need to do this with your particular unit. Mine just happens to have mine has this ball thing here. I have to pull it in from the outside. I'm going to sort of loop this up just to keep it mostly out of the way. I'll put those through there. And as you can see, here's those mounting screws poking through. You be a little careful with those because they're kind of sharp and you could hurt yourself. So you might want to stick a little something on those, or use shorter screws, or put some tape over the ends or something just to keep yourself from getting poked on those. But if you're like me, or if you've seen any of my videos before, you probably noticed I'm just not very safety conscious. Just to make sure things stay nice and tidy, I'm going to add a small zip tie. Keep this from coming completely uncoiled throughout the course of the ice season. No need to cinch it down super tight, but I'm going to coil it up, and then I can kind of tuck off the side or whatever, and tuck that over there, and attach my power cable. I've got my ice transducer here, which can just be stored right there inside the box. And I've got this notch, as I mentioned before, so I can run that out this way, and this goes up to this way. I've now got both my my transducer and my power cable coming up out of the box, so I can go ahead and hook those back up to the main unit. So now that I've got my cables coming out of the box, I've got them hooked back up to the main unit, and I can put the main unit back on the mounting bracket. Put the thumb screws back in. While I'm in my ice shack, I can adjust the angle of this just by loosening these thumb screws and moving the screen up and down. And once it's all on there, you see we've got a nice portable little unit here. And so the transducer then is stored inside, as you can see. So now, thanks to the notches that I cut on the sides of the box, I can have the transducer cable coming out, going down into my ice hole, and having this unit just sitting there next to me, or in front of me, next to the hole. And I've got plenty of extra cord here, so I can move the transducer from hole to hole or whatever I need to do. And that's pretty much it. It works great, lasts for hours. Let's go ahead and power this thing up. Let's see, probably get quite a glare here. One thing I always typically end up doing is turning the light down, the backlight. That's actually a major tip of saving your battery life, is turning that backlight down on the screen. You're not out if you're not out in broad daylight. If you're inside your ice fishing shack, it's pretty dark in there usually, and so you don't need to turn it up very bright. Now going through my views, now you can see I've gotten to my looks like a traditional flasher. You can adjust your sensitivity and your beam width on the transducer. It shows your battery level, all kinds of good stuff like that. And you can also use, the traditional 2D views, and I do that a lot of times too, especially because you can see sort of the backtrace history of your jig. You can see the jigging up and down. You can see if there were any fish rising to it. I may do another video on that sometime when I'm actually out on the ice and actually, catching some fish, hopefully, because I'm totally going to catch some fish. But anyway, that's the basic rig. That's my portable ice conversion for my Helix 7. Again, you can do this with really inexpensive parts. I'll put some links in the description down below for the ice transducer for the Helix 7, for the new batteries that I ordered, which is a great deal. And as far as the rest of it, it's a very cheap toolbox, just costs a couple of dollars. If you need to buy any little connectors, you can pick those up at any auto parts store or anything like that. And so with this, I can take the same sonar that I use all year long, all summer, spring, fall, out on open water, and take it with me on the ice and always be fishing.